ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
Hello.
Hello. You guys have the best intros, and for your shows. Oh my gosh. I need to step my game up on my channel.
I was laughing because I could see you like backstage, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It's been a journey.
It's like life.
Yes. So yeah, I went back and I watched our first episode, just like, what did we talk about? I know we talked about everything.
We did. And you know what? Just for people who are joining us for the first time, I'm going to reintroduce you.
Okay, thanks.
You're most welcome. Thomas Mooneagle is a shamanic practitioner, an intuitive reader, an artist, a healer, a mesa carrier, teacher, and an author. He's trained as an Usui Reiki Master, a Sifu of Southern Chinese Tai Chi, ordained as a minister in the Order of Melchizedek. I'll have to ask you some questions about that. And initiated as a Fourth Level Andean Priest. Thomas is versed in the shamanic practices of the mesa and core shamanism, as well as transformational consciousness technologies. Woo! He's taught workshops and lectured on various topics, including shamanic journeying, psychic protection, communicating with nature spirits. Is this Qigong? Qigong, got it. The practical application of quantum physics, yes, and the tarot. Okay. He is the author of the book Drumming Down the Runes, Walking the 24 Roads, and the co-creator of the Hemi-Sync album, Chords of Light. Currently, he resides in Louisville, Kentucky. I think I did that right.
Yep.
With clients worldwide. He writes weekly on his blog and regularly creates healing and transformational videos on his YouTube channel. Thomas Mooneagle, everybody. And by the way, I'm Kai, and
I'm the opposite. Yeah.
And this is the Our Daily Magic podcast. This is part 2 of our conversation with Thomas Mooneagle from many moons ago.
Yeah.
We'll give the shout outs to, before we get into it, the people who are here live. There's a comment already. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Keep the comments coming. Keep the questions going. We always love to engage. Oh, yeah. See, look, they're already getting some love.
Qigong, yes. That's
Hey,
the other way. That's the other way to spell it. There's like 5 different ways, I think, to spell it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Is it like the word, like, was it there?
Well,
Hi,
no,
Tamara.
it's the difficulty in translating Chinese into phonetic is, depending on which translation you're using, like which system you're using. And I just go with what I was initially introduced with. It's not, it's again, no, it's equally valid. And so,
Yeah. Whether there's like Qigong battles that goes on.
oh yeah.
My Qigong's better than your Qigong because it's spelled this way.
It's the same thing, like, how people do that with Reiki, and they're like, my Reiki is the purest Reiki. Mine's the most powerful Reiki. And it happens. I tell my students, like, when I teach Tai Chi and Qigong, I'm like, okay, so just so you know, if you go and take another class from somebody else, just do it the way they tell you to. Because, like, if you have like 100 Tai Chi teachers, and it's like one of my teachers used to joke, it's like, how many Tai Chi teachers does it take to change a light bulb? And he was like, 100, 1 to do it, 99 to stand around and say, like, well, that's not the way my teacher told me how to do it, and it's so true.
Oh, that's going somewhere. Just how you can try to throw something away just because it's not the way that you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you do it the way that person tells you to. Just know that you're doing it wrong. I don't really mean that. I just, I like to joke with people because, you find what works for you, and unless you're like what they're doing is injuring you, then it's probably fine.
Yeah. That's a good thing too. I like finding what works for you. Because we could fall so easily into trying to do what other people tell us was right for us to do. Well, in our soul, I don't know about this, but I'm going to try because this person told me to do it or whatever. So, yeah, honoring yourself for finding out. And there's always abundance of information, no matter which path you're going.
Yeah. And, I always say, just because I've had different teachers, and I've fired teachers before. If they don't meet a certain level of integrity for me, or they do something that I feel is harmful, I will fire them as my teacher. And I think that's really valid. Now, the trick is that some people will, if somebody says something that makes you uncomfortable, that's not a fireable offense.
Good point.
Because a lot of times what teachers will do is they'll put you in an uncomfortable situation in order for you to, pick out where is the wound there, where are you stuck, where is your mind keeping you locked away. And that happens a lot. And I would go to my shamanic classes, and I would be, oh man, this is so uncomfortable. Why do I keep doing this to myself? And then afterwards you'd feel better. And I kept coming back for it. And after a while you just get used to it. It's like, yeah, this is uncomfortable. That's fine. It's normal.
That's the check-in.
Yeah.
What uncomfortableness is in alignment with your soul, and which uncomfortableness is like, I don't think this is like settling. This, I shouldn't be doing this. That type of thing. And like you mentioned the words, it brought me. I was actually listening to a video yesterday from Alan Watts, and Alan Watts was saying how people seek a master to pretty much, hey master, I want to become enlightened, like that type of thing, and going under the teacher. But then he was saying like a proper teacher they know where your ego is at and what's going on with it, and they're gonna poke it. They're gonna keep poking at that bear, pretty much. And then, like you said, somebody could say, "Oh my God, like, let me get out of here. I'm being triggered," or whatever the terms could be for you're triggered from what somebody said.
Sure. And there's like that balance too. When you're the teacher, a lot of times it's like you need to like sometimes bring people to an uncomfortable place, but you also have to meet them where they are, and not force your idea of where they should be onto them. It's just, and it's such a balancing act. And I mean, ego has gotten such a raw deal in spiritual circles. Because, I mean, yes, I mean, you need to have like, if you don't have enough ego, that means you don't have boundaries, and you need boundaries. And this, this plays out in different ways, but I've seen this a lot in spiritual communities where there is a charismatic leader, and if you disagree with something that they're doing that is abusive, they just say, well, we're just trying to, break down your ego. You need, this is your problem with this. And no, you're abusing. That's the problem. And so you have to like weigh those things when you're working with anybody, when you're working with teachers, when you receiving, yes, being uncomfortable is part of it. And it's just like, where's that line cross between putting you in uncomfortable situations and abuse, and knowing that there is a line that's just because someone says, oh no, this is for your spiritual involvement. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And I think it's just really easy to see when if someone is coming from a place of love and they are coming, and they don't have like another agenda going on. Like, they're not trying to like sleep with their students, or they're
Oop. You ever speak about that? You heard about, or have you watched, because a lot of people watched it last year, Tiger King?
I didn't. I was one of the few people that didn't see that.
Okay. So not the Tiger King, but there was another guy who owned, like, he pretty much owned the Tiger Ranch, but he had all of his wives there, and it was calling him pretty much like a yogi, a master, that type of thing. And he said something about how he had to have sex with them to get enlightenment. Yeah.
Where do you want me to start with that one?
I heard that. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Does he have the key? Literally, the key to opening the gate?
Welcome to your first episode, Tamara. Allison said, "Girl, stop."
Nah, this is
about cult dynamics and
these are type of funny conversations. I like to have these type of candid conversations because one, it's like, for me, it's just a little bit hysterical, but then two, I just want to hear from the other person's perspective where they're coming from to like what process are you in your own involvement to feel like my penis is the key to enlightenment for these people, and I'm going to speak with this conviction.
I think they meditated with the Ace of Wands too much.
A little confused, a little dizzy.
Yes. I used to call that card the magic flaming cock of the universe. Because it kind of is, but there's nothing. I'm not saying that is not sacred. I'm just saying, is it more sacred than anything else? I mean,
I'm trying to see the birth point, because like technically, because they always say like the most powerful energy force is sex. Like the sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces. So if they're doing some tantric things, couldn't technically the penis could be the key?
But like we're saying here, how is that more sacred than drinking a cup of tea?
It's not.
And no,
Different level.
and that's it. It's like, you know, how many ways up the mountain are there? I don't know. And which way is better? And, I mean, that one sure sounds like a lot of fun. Someone's telling you to stop.
Tamara's got the thinking emoji. Like.
Yeah.
So
it's like there's infinite ways. So like, of course, like if somebody says like they truly believe that this is one way, then
I mean, sure, I can give you some
yes,
perspective I have on that.
Yes.
And you know, and because we mentioned Qigong several times, I'm gonna bring it up because that's like a big part of that. You know, we have in Qigong, you have Qi, but there's different types of Qi. There's Jing, there's Qi, there's Shen, and that Jing is that sexual energy. That's the stuff you inherit, you know, from your parents that goes into the womb and creates life. So yeah, really powerful. When you burn up all your Jing, that's it. You're done. You cannot maintain a body. So it's really potent, really powerful, and can be used for spiritual transformation. But that's not really the only way, and most people don't use it that way.
Yeah.
And you know, when people just think, oh yeah, if I just have sex, that'll open. Oh, well, not exactly. I mean, there's a lot of interior work you have to do with your own internal systems to move that energy up and clear blocks. To bring, you know, that's Kundalini energy, which is, you know, very potent, but can also be very dangerous if it's not balanced. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with sexual energy, you always have to, you know, get to where you're doing this back and forth between the two people and making sure that it is really truly balanced, not only in yourself, but in your partner, and that dynamic is balanced, that you're not slipping into a predator and prey kind of sexual dynamic, which is a dynamic which is quite common and has been promoted in several cultures, not just in one culture, but a lot of different cultures. And so it's unfortunate because, you know, it's like the exception to the rules where you see that truly loving couple that just flows between each other and they're mutually supportive, where one is not always, you know, being propped up by the other's energy. And so when you do come into that mutual flow of energy that's balanced and truly loving and based in compassion and not just lust, then yes, it can open you up to a whole new level of consciousness. But people just want to skip to the sexual Olympics and not do the interior work.
In today's Olympics, we're going to have the backstroke competition.
Where's Allison at? Allison, can you say it again, please?
How many viewers have we lost?
Look at the stroke on this specimen.
I just see people, you know, holding up numbers, you know.
Let's see what the score says.
6.5. We got an 8 on that one. Okay, yeah. Let's see what the Swedish judge has to say.
But it's what I just got from that conversation, and I can't wait for Allison. I can't stop. I won't stop. Universal bad boy, baby. But what I was getting from what we were just talking about, even though how funny it was, but it just shows us how important the intention is behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
With it. Because we just talked about different levels of what can happen with different intentions, like the love and the lust, the person who hasn't done the work yet and they go into this whole sexual thing. We're gonna lighten each other, but we still gotta deal with all our stuff. Do you feel like if people come in that state, that what's going to happen, because like the sexual force is a powerful energy, it's going to bring up a lot of stuff, and potentially like it just starts to like go back and forth, like all of our stuff together. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, and that's, you see that happen in relationships all the time. that are just doing the normal thing, right? That happens. It magnifies. So, like my teacher, one of my Qigong teachers, he's like, yeah, I can show you this stuff. And then he's like, but really, you got to do a lot of balancing work before we start working with the kidney chi, which is like the sexual batteries, the kidney chi. That stuff's potent. He's like, yeah, if you just activate that and just build kidney chi, it's just going to magnify everything that's there. So you've got to do a lot of work. So I don't even do kidney chi stuff in the summer. I'd like to do that in the winter to warm up. But I will literally, like, I have before, like, created a fever in my body to burn something out just working with kidney chi.
Sheesh.
Yeah, you can literally do that. You can control, that internal thermostat with different chi work. But what I'm working with now is like balancing the 5 elements.
Right.
And flipping the water and the fire, so the water element's cooling the fire, and the fire's heating the water. And because if I ever anything, I could always say it's all about balance.
Isn't the 5 elements practice like essentially the thing that, like, they say that Jesus mastered and was able to like embody so that people would be like healed in his presence?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. I wasn't there.
Exactly.
So, but for me, it's all been about internal alchemy, like taking that, the difference. And right now, especially, I don't know about you, but as the world has opened back up, I've actually experienced more anxiety, more grief, more of everything as we opened back up and started to ease back into normal operations, more so than when we were in the height of the pandemic and in lockdown. And so I've had to do more internal emotional work, and I've done a lot of crying. So back after this call, I'll probably like turn the music on in the office and just sit back and just let the tears flow.
Yeah, that's two interesting topics to go into. First one I wanted to point out is how you just said, when you asked the question about the elements of Jesus, like, I wasn't there, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like, so when people, they talk about what he'd done back then as if they were there, as if like this YouTube thing like we're having now, technology and stuff. So there's no like documented evidence or whatever experience people say that happened or whatever. But it's pretty cool. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about is, like you mentioned, during the lockdown, especially during our last conversation, it was like right in the midst of it, like in the beginning, right? I think the last time we talked.
It was April, so people were starting to get vaccinated in the general population, so things were starting to open up, looking a little, getting a little brighter. So, but we were still very much, operating mostly remotely. That's why I was in my house instead of in my office during the call. So changes.
And during that time, over our last interview, and that's the one thing that I definitely remember, when you got to talk to us and our audience from the essence of COVID, that energy, and where it was coming from. So I want to ask another question, because that was so powerful, and it's one that's going to resonate with a lot of people out there, because like that whole balance of people on the fence and stuff, and that topic is a vaccine.
Oh yeah.
So many people are on for it. Some people are on the other fence about it. And on both sides, there are evidence to support whatever belief you have, whether to not get it, whether to get it. And from a shamanic practitioner, if you tapped into the energy of the vaccine, what will the vaccine be saying? What is the vaccine's purpose right now in this collective play that we're at?
Well, I haven't journeyed to the vaccine like I did to COVID.
Okay.
I will say that I personally have been vaccinated. And so is my family. I work with vulnerable populations when I teach, so it's really important that particularly I am vaccinated, because I work with people who are going through cancer treatment and are seniors and have other, suppressed immune systems for different reasons. So, even if I wasn't worried about my health, I would have to worry about the people around me. And the only thing, again, it's like, I know I'm speaking here from personal opinion, not having journeyed to it. I was like,
yeah.
You should ask me before, and I would have taken a journey before the podcast.
You got part 3 now.
Yeah, there you go. But and I know people on both sides of that, and it has been very divisive in my community about different spiritual beliefs about that. And I always boil it down to, is this compassionate? Is this, by taking this vaccine, am I protecting myself, protecting my family, and protecting others? What are the risk factors? And I'm right now, where I live, the hospitals are overrun by unvaccinated individuals. And so I've had people who've had family members who've had a medical emergency that cannot get in to get treatment. And there are people that have lost loved ones. And it's really, I can't separate emotion. I can't be logical. I can't separate my emotional feelings from this. So I know I'm being biased. I'm going to put that out there. I believe that it is a good idea to protect the people around you. And I also understand that a lot of people are afraid because of historical reasons about how public medicine has been administered and tested on people. And, what can you say to that? I have people who are wanting to have children, and they've heard rumors about fertility, and, and someone said, well, can't you go to that person and tell them that that's like not true? And I was like, listen, if I get involved in that debate, here's the problem. It's a man telling a woman what to do with her body.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a woman and want to tell her, that's fine, but I can't do that, because no matter how, logical, it just comes off as like, here's the man telling you what to do with your body. And not going to do that.
I will. So I'm kidding.
Okay.
Nope.
I mean, even if that's not where I'm coming from, I'm trying to, I'm like, this is about public health. This is about your immune system. It's not about your uterus. But it doesn't matter. It's just going to come off that way as a man trying to tell a woman what to do.
Oh, yeah.
So
you
have to be mindful of those things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question or not. It's been very personal. I've had people who've struggled and have been isolated, and they can't come out of that isolation until there is herd immunity. And so again, it's just about, what are we valuing? I mean, yes, there's personal liberty, and that matters. And it's sort of like, this balance between personal liberty and community responsibility. And it's always going back and forth between those two and finding the most compassionate mix. But my personal belief is that, yes, people should get vaccinated. So. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, don't read the comments.
There's like, for me personally, and then this is like, we were just talking about, even leading up to the question I just asked about balance. Mm-hmm. And collectively finding a balance. Obviously, the current reality is there's this virus out here that is making people sick. people are dying from it, and it's spreading rampantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reminded me. So, like, for example, like the vaccine become available, it's sort of like the person who's dated someone, and this person came up with have all these reasons why this person is not so a good person, but out of nowhere, this person makes that shift and that switch of trying to be better for themselves than the other person, but the person still has memories of when he actually did all these other stuff out there.
Yeah,
it reminds me of that with this type of situation in which, like, okay, there's pharma companies that have a lot of pharmaceutical drugs out there that they kill people, they get people sick, they mess people up. But then also, if you really take a deeper look, besides those things, there are actually medicines out there that help us. I was just talking to Kai about that, like penicillin. Penicillin helps us out so much. Advils, like all these different things that are out there to help us with that. And this balance, meaning that obviously in the spiritual standpoint, the energy and all that other stuff, yeah, there's a bigger energy at play than the physical world. But in this physical world as well, there are tangible things that we can take from the medical side of things that can help us speed up our process. Obviously, with the herbs and things like that, it can help us as well. But like penicillin is pretty quick. And me personally, I'd rather take a penicillin if I got a strep throat or something compared to just taking some herbs and stuff like that, because I know, okay, this is going to knock it out.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little dance that's happening right now. But I feel we're in the process of bringing this balance in. We're in the process of bringing this balance. I feel that there needs to be some type of conversation from both sides to try to come to some mutual understanding about things. Because what happens, like, this is right, this is wrong, or no, this is wrong, this is right. There's a thing going on. They're trying to put microchips in us and all these other things that are out there. And it's like, yo, like,
microchip.
Exactly. If that's the case, then like, what is this that you use all the time? Like, if they really want to track you, they already track you as well already. If you really take consideration, how many times have you said something, you look on your phone and information popped up or whatever? And even that thing from from Facebook that came out it was a Netflix movie for the voting, how they was able to take all people's information, Russia or somebody, to help sway the election. So it's like, it's already out there anyway. Yeah. So let's be real. Let's get to the honest point. We're afraid.
Yeah.
We're afraid of the unknown. Collectively, we're afraid of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen, but what we're looking for is some type of hope and solution. So the vaccine is a hope solution for some people. And I don't know on the other side of things, maybe people feel like natural remedies boost your immune system and all these other stuff. Yeah, cool. It does help out to boost your immune system, meditate, get your energy flowing and things like that. But what needs to happen is a collective conversation unconditionally, not a conditional conversation in which we can hear both sides of the equation, like having this type of dialogue instead of battling each other, because the battle is just going to keep us separated. I'm all for what's going to bring us together collectively and move forward, not what is going to keep us separated and fighting against each other and all this other stuff, and that's going to affect our immune system anyway because we're stressed out and angry. What can we do to bring ourselves together and have this conversation? That's how I feel.
I think for some people, they have to have a personal stake in it. You know, they have to feel the effects, and that's the sad thing, because a lot of us, particularly in Western cultures, it's all about us. It's all about me. It's all about me. What I want with my life, what I'm doing here and there, and the big message, that has been coming through is that it's not all about you. It's not, and there's a whole brand of marketable, it's all about me spirituality, what I'm going to manifest, what I'm going to do, what feels good for me. And there's nothing wrong with bringing some of that in. But I've noticed a trend in a lot of spiritual communities that, or spiritual practices or brands, I would be probably a better way to say let's just say spiritual brands. Because that's more on par, because what we're dealing with is marketing, where it's like it's all a focus on the self and the perfection, and anything that's not with that just gets tossed to the side, doesn't matter, or this person didn't do the things right. And that has hit me really hard, I think, in the past few, not just this year, but in the past few years, just seeing that kind of pop up. Because when we go for feel-good spirituality, it feels great. But when somebody else is having a hard time, we a lot of times will step in, and maybe even with the best of intentions, and critique what they're doing rather than just be there for them. And so they'll say stuff like, you've had like this major tragedy. Well, how did you attract that? You've just gotten out of an abusive relationship. How did you attract this sort of person? And, I've been in that situation. I've also been around that situation. And it's just not compassionate. It doesn't help change the situation. And I've been probably contributing to that with probably my very hardline stance on the way things should be. And because there's so much emotion, like you said, tied up, there's so much fear tied up in that. But a lot of times people will put, and this is across the board. I'm talking about every spiritual brand here. And I'm not talking about every single person in that brand. But when you put belief in something over other people's well-being, that's where there's a problem. It's fine to believe it's fine to take strength in your beliefs, but when you make that more important than how you're affecting other people, or just their well-being, that's where I consider it, toxic spirituality.
You had a point there, powerful point as well.
And we've all done it at some point.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Like those moments, because it's so easy to tell a person, because you're out of the situation, like, what did you do attracted, or this doesn't serve you anymore, and like all this other stuff, compared to like this being there for a person. Like, like I just went through something pretty hard.
It is, because most of us, we just want to fix something. We just want to fix. You just want to be, and if we're not fixing, means we're not helpful, and if we're not helpful, means we're not needed. If we're not needed, means that people can just get rid of us.
Ego.
And particularly for guys, this is a big thing, because like, just pound it in, raised as a male, you got to provide, you got to be this, you got to support, you got to do this, you got to be the person that solves the problems. And if you're not needed, then what good are you? And that's really, and I've seen this woman say that, I don't need a man. And the men go, oh crap. Because if you don't need us, you're just going to get rid of us. Because the idea that someone could just want us around but not need us is like a totally foreign concept.
We're going somewhere now.
Oh yeah.
We're going somewhere. Now we're going somewhere deeper.
Now we're gonna hit some peeps. They were hit some triggers right now. All the men and women in the audience be like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it's a healing conversation out there, because like, not needing somebody means you can choose who you have in your life.
Yeah.
When you need somebody, you're gonna put up with whatever you need to put up with, because you feel like you need this person, even at the cost of your own personal boundaries that is like, what are you doing? And what's that term they said? I lose myself in a relationship or whatever, because you're overly just giving your boundaries away. And I applaud the women, those independent women out there stepping out there and saying like, I don't need a man, but they're saying it. If you really like have a conversation, because they're more independent financially, it's like, I don't need a man financially. well, I don't need a man at all as well, potentially as well. But having a conversation and from that space of they're not needing you for that, but they can choose how they want to interact with you and vice versa. And a lot of men who pride themselves off of being the provider, like you said, the provider, the man, the macho chismo out there, and now here's this woman who makes more money than you. Is that reflection now? That outer security that you have,
Yeah,
is starting to point to that inner security that you have.
and it's insidious too because it's so ingrained in our society. Because I've known people that, you know, in my field, and like their wife makes more than they do, and they feel like they've somehow failed her, and I'm like, why? I mean, you know, it's because it's so, you know, in there that I have to be the one, you know, to do this. And then I've been on the receiving end of that, just in friendships when I've been friends with women, and this idea that I need to support them. And I was like, do I? We're not married, you know. I mean, and, you know, so, you know, it's a weird dynamic. And part of it is while the women's movement has really opened up a lot, like a different, you know, venues and pathways, the men's movement has not really changed its definition of what we need to be. So even though we're like, oh yeah, you also need to be understanding this and this, we just kind of pile it over the old definition. So it's still resting on all the old bones of everything else. And there's a lot of self-judgment. And then if that gets repressed, it comes out in nasty ways.
Oh yeah. You see what's going on in the world.
We went to a deep place there.
I like it. I like having these type of conversations because this is another conversation collectively of us coming together as well. Because like if we can just have these conversations and also honor each other for what state we're in right now, of like the new resurgence of women empowerment, which is great. So much times women have been disempowered, and for them to really step into that femininity, that power, it's going to collectively be able to help us push forward. But now, of course, from the man side, we need to shift into more heart-centered male space as well, to be able to have, like we said before, which is synchronistic, where you're talking about the dance, the flow.
Yeah.
Because it's like one's like this one, the other one's
Yeah, and it's just what's good, you know. And if you're insecure and you see someone being empowered, you can go one of two ways. You can be more insecure and attack that or feel threatened by it, or you can go, oh, so there's a different way to be empowered. And, you know, maybe, because I can tell you for me, like the traditional way of being empowered did not work for me. I am the person that if you're out, before the pandemic, if a woman was lost somewhere, she would always come up to me and ask me for directions. I mean, I could be in any city in the world, and some woman is coming up to me asking, I was like, I don't know, I don't live here, but maybe if you go over here, because apparently I exhibit the field of non-threatening, or all around me. It's sort of, now the downside of that is like any guy who's just like, he's looking for something to prove, but he doesn't want to risk too much. Guess who is the target painted on them? For many years, that was me. Like, I want to show like how tough I am, so I'm going to pick the smallest guy in here and beat the crap out of him. Because that's, well, if you're insecure and you have that machismo thing, that's what you do. Now, they didn't know that I studied martial arts for like decades at that point, so.
Hey. You're gonna learn that. We're just talking about.
Still never had to throw a punch. I've still managed to find a way out of it, but I do know how. I mean, it's just like.
I got a question for you about that, because I was just having a conversation with my cousin about this, about just how many people now are trained in MMA and like mixed martial arts and that type of stuff. I was like, you could tell like a person's potentially training, and this is how I feel, is when somebody, like you mentioned, the insecure person that's looking to pick on somebody, so they're coming at the smallest person. So like in your example of them coming at you, but what I was like, my hypothesis is like, you gotta watch out for the calm person in that type of thing, when a person's coming, and then the calm person like, I don't think you want to do this. Like that type of conversation. Is that like the type of conversation you would have with these people?
It's just a bad idea. You never know what the other person is gonna bring. I think I had 2 incidents in my 20s that happened real close together that really made me I'd work with shadow after that, because I was surprised. It was like how willing I was to like really hurt, and I always thought I was so peaceful. I was like, not really. Not really. But when people say, I'm gonna go get my gun, and I immediately stood up and I didn't verbalize the decision, was like, well, if you're not going to get to your truck, you're not gonna make it to your truck, man. Because that's where it was. And it's such a strange, it's such a strange feeling, because like I don't feel like I'm not, some people identify with the spiritual warrior archetype. I'm not one of those people. I just don't. That's just not me. I'm like, let's do the wizard thing. Let's do the healer thing. Let's do all that stuff. Here, I'll cook something for you. That's kind of where I'm coming from. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't get angry and I don't have all those. I learned that I do. All those protective. Like I do get protective, but it's more likely I'm protective of other people. And I'm like, I'll say this as a joke to people when someone's being really terrible. It's like, you want me to go beat them up? And, it's always a surprise for people. Like, damn, you're scary. I'm like, am I? Really? I was like, you're so intense. I'm like, where is this coming from? But it's like when you're standing in your power and you just don't move. And, that going back to martial arts, they have what they call the immovable stance, where you just sink. You become one with the earth. It's not your power. But, I mean, I have a dog that, like, is only 20 pounds less than I am, and he's pure muscle. So when I walk him, if he decides to lunge, which lucky, he's really well trained, he doesn't do that very often, I just sink into the earth pose, and he yanks, and he just looks back at me with utter shock, like how are you able to hold me? And I'm like, I'm not holding you, the earth's holding you right here. Boom, just. And it's all about, in martial arts, in magic, in healing, it's all about you meeting and unifying with a force. And it's that dance again. We're just circling back to what we started with, really. I mean, it's that dance.
We have a comment here too. This is great. Novella says, I'm a woman, so I am beyond grateful to be able to support myself. And I do. I live on my own and pay all my bills on my own. I also believe that the women's rights movement caused many difficulties and problems as well.
It brings something up.
There are consequences for sure. I mean, it means more people in the workplace, which means more competitive. But we also brought the same devaluation of what we don't consider the traditional power structure into. We still have that. It's not like, oh yeah, well, chauvinism is over. No, we've won, right? No.
Right, to your point, it's like, oh, well, we have a war on poverty. We have a war on terrorism. It's like, what are you doing but starting a war?
last war on terrorism didn't go so well. Yeah, we're just witnessing the end, if we can call it the end of it, which whatever, after 20 years just about. And what did we really accomplish?
Right. More war,
more, more resources going towards killing people. And again, it's sort of, whenever people talk about, and I've seen this, swing from one side to the other. I've known people that are highly Dianic witches in a very ultra-feminist way, but also very male-hating way. And I've seen others that are more just female empowerment Dianic kind of tradition. And it's a very different energy. It's sort of like, yay, goddess. And it's sort of like, yay, goddess, crush the god, kind of. And I'm like, okay, like, so if you want to look at it like in a divine spiritual thing, like the goddess and the god aspect, the masculine, the feminine, the masculine, like, she's kind of going to bring her boyfriend with her, Just saying. So, there's toxic, feminist spirituality is just as much as toxic masculine spirituality. It looks different, but both those toxicities feed one another, just like a healthy, balanced spirituality and honoring feeds both sides of that. And if I'm wearing the yin yang today, so both of them contain the seed element of the other, which is why seeing maybe the traditional route for you as the guy is not the best route, but you see a woman who's empowered that shows you a different way to be empowered, and maybe that inspires some part of you that can be empowered. Maybe it's not in the traditional masculine way, but does it matter if you're empowered?
Exactly.
So Novella also says the biggest one in my mind being that it's almost impossible to support a family on one income. I want my children and partner to have home-cooked meals every night. I also would love to I would never want to be a stay-at-home mom, though. It's a double-edged sword. And Allison says, true, people are people regardless of sex.
Yeah. It reminded me, because as we was reading what Novella was saying, and also like the balance, like you said, the toxic nature that could be on both sides, the male and the female. So it's like one of those things like, yeah, I'm independent, I can do that stuff for myself and pay my bills and all those other things, but then ask yourself the truthful question: is that what you want as your reality? Like asking that type of thing. And that's why like the balance of the man who could potentially be a provider, it can actually be that type of way. But like for me, it's sort of like surrendering to a co-creation as well. Just because you can do something, do you really want to do it? Like checking in, asking yourself that type of thing.
And it's interesting, the whole devaluation of the stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
Because how much does childcare cost? And how much does good food cost? I mean, how much does it pay to have someone come in and clean your house and take care of errands and all of that? I mean, we just, if you want to total what that would cost to actually hire someone to do that. And, again, we're putting this also in like the personal hand, but it's not personal hand. There's also a societal thing that has devalued labor across the board and has done it for decades. Like pretty much as long as I've been alive, like labor has been less and less valued as far as, getting paid for what you're actually doing. And in some cases, people shunt that on to sexual politics. And there is a portion of that because women are paid on far less than men. But everybody has been paid less than what they're actually doing. And that is like why you can't survive on one income.
Yeah. I feel that a lot of families though got a nice rude awakening of just how important a stay-at-home parent is for this pandemic, where the kids had to be forced to be at home. So and even the parents got forced to be at home as well. Other parents, so they said the parent who was always working, or both parents are working all the time, they actually got to be home with the kids. And you had to be home with the kids, and you had to take care of the kids while you had to do work as well. So it just, like, for me, from my perspective, I feel like it just really just showed just how important a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home parent is for the kid through that experience, because there's so many things that they do that a lot of people actually had to do, or even like if people had a house cleaner or babysitter, all these other stuff as well. So like it's all important, even though like it may not like be a monetary value, like you say, like getting paid to be a stay-at-home mom, but of course like the cost if you had to hire other people to do it, but then also just the cost of everything else besides money and the value of a stay-at-home mom, what they do for the child.
Novella says so much for the children, for the families, for society.
Yeah.
It's I mean, and we're saying this like it's a novel concept, but this was the original concept when, you know, in tribes, went from the get-go. It was all about like the family unit and the extended family and your community. And we've sort of flipped that on our heads, where we put like our family and community last on the list of things that have to get taken care of. And like the work is done to support the family. The family is not there to support the work. So I mean but again, we're in this story that we've been telling ourselves for hundreds of years. You know, and you know, we're in this story. It's like we're looking around and like, but there's no other stories being told, and we're like, certainly there's got to be another story. I need to be in a different movie, you know.
I think for the story, because like, you know, like the whole collective, pretty much collective belief of what a man's supposed to be and what a woman's supposed to be. So by basing your own personal experience based upon that thing, you're trying to just morph yourself to be in that status quo. And I've done that for myself too, in which I'm trying to be the provider and all those other things out there. And when I'm not that, I feel inadequate. I don't feel enough and those type of things. But what I realized, and I've been integrating that more into my experience now, that's really resonating, and it's like this type of thing, is like there's no roles. Like I had to be a certain role, you have to be a certain role. I was saying this to Kai before as well, like, oh man, I should think like, how can I be more divine masculine for you? Like that type of thing. And for her to be more divine feminine, it's like the question I asked that really debunked it. I'm like, does God really think, how can I be more masculine in this moment, or am I being too feminine in this moment? Does God just be what needs to be in the moment? I'm like, why overcomplicate this when you just be what needs to be in the moment? And it's okay, whatever thing I need to be in this moment, because isn't that what interdimensional infinite beings is all about? It's not like, let me up my masculine game in this moment. How much more masculine can I provide for her in this moment to help serve her?
You know, what's funny is I'm picturing, as you're talking, I'm picturing this, and I'm seeing like, you know, the divine source, like standing in front of like a clothes rack, and it's like rotating around, like, which costume do I need to wear? You know. And people always like get on, you know, I have some very non-traditional views of deities and what they are, and for me, it's sort of like, I look at it, they're software, and like for the great infinite, like they're a software interface. We interfaced with that deity. It's like, what app are you using today? I need the Ganesha app. Oh, good. Source is coming in as the Lord of Obstacles. Yay, help me with this. It's like the same source, but it's just wearing different costume.
Yeah. It's because there's so much information out there, and you're trying to, like, for me, I was trying to make sure I had the right information for every situation, and so I just had this aha moment, like, wait a minute, why don't I just go directly to the architect of all of this, and like, hey, this is I need some assistance with this or whatever it is. Show me what I need to be, compared to like, okay, like, oh man, which thing I gotta go through in this app, which deity or whatever I need to connect with to help me do this, compared to the source. I need help with this obstacle that's going on right now. Just show me which one to go with. And usually it's an instant type of thing, like, whoop, an instant download. You got mail.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're lagging. There we go. I'm looking at the comment there.
We can truly reach our divine potential. We can fully embrace our masculine and feminine sides. Yeah. Very difficult to do, though. It could be, but it's like going to the gym. Well, for me, for difficulty, like when you first start working out, it can be difficult, but the more you work out, the easier it starts to get, because it starts to become a routine. But then this brings me also with the whole, what's the thing, past lives, reincarnations. They always say like, this is not our first time here. So I'm pretty sure all of us here have been on both sides of the equation. Like, female in one life, male in another life, combination of both. Hey, maybe I was a Tyrannosaurus Rex in one lifetime, and like really different things. So like all these tools are in us. This is how I interpret it, and this is how I believe. And like it really just allows me to flow more with what is needed in the moment, and not like try to second guess it. It's like, okay, like I got all this information in me, and then also like there's this higher consciousness that's experiencing itself through each and every one of us. So I know personally I might not have the answer, but I know that definitely has to have the answer. It has infinite information.
Have you done past life like work? Or
I never did a past life thing. I never did a past life regression.
I've done, so I had a weird experience when I was at the Monroe Institute doing the guidelines course, where you have like a private session in like a copper lined room, and they have like an operator on the thing, and they lead you through it. And I actually crossed over a former incarnation of myself, who was a soldier, which is hard for me to picture me as like a soldier in a trench, but I was that. But I mean, I've also been like a Spartan warrior. And I mean, as much as I don't emulate the uber masculine like archetype in this lifetime, I was built. I was like a statue. I was like strong and powerful and all those things. And I was also very much a family man. And so it was like those two were like inseparable. Like, yes, I'm a strong warrior because I have to protect my family. I've also been a nun. I've also been a courtesan. I've also, just all different sorts of things, So if you can think of a profession, you've probably done it. On all, I've also been beaten to death for not working hard enough. And that was in India, I think. Yeah. So there's also, like I said, you've probably suffered just about every indignity. You've also probably received about every bit of praise.
Yeah. It's just like, it always makes me wonder, is like, I'm pretty sure we all live like so many different lives, but they always say like, once we cross over from whatever lifetime we're in, we go back to source. So this is another curious question that I had as well about that. I was like, if that's the case, then if we go back and then we get reincarnated again, don't we go back and we receive the information from every other collective past lives that are also in that information, and we come into this unique experience again? But we have all that access to all of that. So technically, if it's source having experience through all these other experiences, I was like, I wonder if that means that like a part of us was in all these other experiences simultaneously that happened between now and back in the days and all the infinite realities. It makes me wonder. We're all connected. We all are one. That's what that spirit says of this. But we're uniquely here in this human experience. So doesn't that mean we were experiencing like all these other stuff? So like when people say like, oh, I was Joan of Arc in my former life, or I was this person or this, was there a part of them that was that? And also, if that's the case, I'm just throwing it out there, then it's like, hey, I was Joan of Arc's servant at that time. I was cleaning up the crap and stuff going on there.
What if Joan of Arc had a past life regression, like in that actual time, and she was like, oh, I had this past life regression, and I was this person named Dell.
Can you imagine?
Are you a man dreaming you're a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming you're a man? You know, that kind of thing. But I've actually journeyed on stuff like that and asked about like multiple universes, multiple lives, past lives and stuff. And the way it was explained to me was that there is the soul, which is like the collective of all of your, it's like the total essential of all that is you. And that in each one of the lives, it sends like a strand down that is like becomes your spirit. And that body forms around that, inside that, and that spirit animates at that. At the end of the life, that strand retracts.
Wow.
And goes back into the soul. Now, and that happens not just for past lives, though, but it happens for parallel lives, because we're not just going past and future. We're also multiple universes. So wow. I've got, God only knows how many multiple selves. And you flip between universes all the time. I mean, it happens. I'm not in the same universe I started out in. And I'll probably end up in a completely different one. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know my life. I won't know until after I'm done, you know? But one of the things I was like, well, is it like one spirit for all the multiple, universes? And they're like, no, there's one for every single one of them. And, every multiple universe version of you gets its own spirit, but they all have one soul. And so they can communicate through that soul. And they can communicate through dreams. They can affect each other because they are connected. They're all tethered to the same source that's your soul. And then also, like, past lives is kind of a misnomer because from that place, it's outside of time. So technically, they're all happening at the same time. For all intents and purposes, because I worried about that, because I was like, oh, geez, I get here and I have to go back in and do something else and start over. Like, well, technically, no, I'm already doing it. So when this life is over, I really do get to go back to source. And all the other aspects will be there too. So, yeah, it really plays with your idea of like, well, who am I? What's my identity? Because we're here in this form. We're here as a spirit inhabiting flesh. But even the spirit is not all that we are. It is only a piece of what we are. So that, again, Pandora's box. Just so much coming out of that,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I forgot who said it, but it's like, they threw it out there. It's like, what if, like, when you go to sleep, you're just waking up in another version of yourself in a different reality?
You could be. I mean...
Because some dreams be crazy. Like, there was a reality for you, you woke up and there was a zombie apocalypse going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of is. I mean... This is the zombie apocalypse.
Different form, not the ones that bite your face.
Yeah,
that's another reality.
they scroll and they leave mean comments on the internet.
Projecting my energy. Projection.
Let's see. Someone's left a Novellis left a comment.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on twins?
Well, actually, in Aramaic, my name means twin. Thomas means twin.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't. If I had a twin, I killed them in the womb.
Fight to the death. There can only be one.
There can be only. Yeah, it's like Highlander. There can be. One.
Some of the sort out. There can only be one.
I actually have known identical twins in my lifetime, and their interaction is kind of interesting to me. Twin flames. Oh. I don't. Twin flames, soulmate, two different things. Soulmates don't necessarily get along. Soulmates could be actually, or a soulmate for you could actually be your arch enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Taking in that opposing thing that, forces you to grow through conflict. They could also be just part of your community, that a community support. So it's not necessarily like soulmate's always going to be like challenging. No, not always. Sometimes they're supportive, but sometimes they can be really challenging. Twin flames, I've not met mine, so I don't have any personal experience of that. Sorry.
It's interesting with those type of things too. It's just I'm throwing out my hypothesis as well for this, and I want to hear your hypothesis too, Kai. With the twin flame soulmate things. It's just, for me, it feels like another just thing of words out there, like the divine masculine, divine feminine, all these different things out there. And for me, I'm a simple-minded person, so I like to just simplify things. Obviously people are entitled to have their beliefs and things like that, but my beliefs is like every single person I meet, like you said, like a soulmate, they can be considered a twin flame and things like that, because it's like this divine soul contract, I feel like, in which these people, like you said, support you, and other people, they're here to evolve, help you evolve and stuff. So it's like I got infinite soulmates, I got infinite twin flames. I can like pick whoever I want to pick. You're my twin flame or whatever this is. But then it's like it puts this pressure of like, oh my God, this person triggers me so much in my life, so this must be my twin flame, because you can't just be together and stuff like that. And it doesn't resonate with me, because like I feel that these people, every single person's here is for my evolution, my soul evolution. So really, if somebody triggers me that much that I can't be around them, maybe there's something for me to take a look at it myself, because that's just like the divine messenger at that time to help me evolve to the next phase. Obviously, I'm lucky I'm in this relationship with this beautiful person to my side for over 6 years now, and lots of triggers, lots of evolution and things like that. But it wasn't just her who triggered me. Everybody else was triggering me too for my evolution. So it's whatever you need in the moment to believe that there's a greater divine play going on than what is happening in the moment, that there's some purpose to what is happening out there. And obviously, yeah, maybe there is one person out there that's meant to be with you, but having that belief, you might miss the opportunity for all these other people that are here right now that you can evolve with.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point. This idea of like the perfect match.
Yeah.
And I just read a short story called The Perfect Match, which was actually kind of sci-fi, but really kind of creepy at the same time. And I was like, oh yeah, like where the AI was telling them, oh, bring up this conversation during the day. Oh, you should ask them about this. And it was just like, ew, that's just gross, man. Just let them talk. Just let them talk. And what I have seen, and this is because one of my blocks is I get fixated. I get very like tunnel vision on things, and when and this is another thing that people do when they've invested a lot in a relationship, regardless of how much the other person has invested. If you've put a lot into it, you value it really highly. And so you may stay with it even beyond what you really need to stay for. And I saw a quote, something, and this goes back to like the idea that you attract this or attract that, you attract these abusive people or toxic people. And a therapist said, no, they're not choosy people. They'll just, your problem is that you let them stick around. And yes. I was like, yes, you didn't attract them, but you did let them stay.
Yes.
And so my job for me lately has been like, when I see the flags go up, I'm like, okay, yeah, flag. Must hang back a little bit. Oh, another flag. Nope, out.
Yeah.
I love early red flags. They save me so much pain.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this person did this, but they did take me out to eat that one time. So I'm going to let them stick around for a little bit. And then if a snake bites you once, you're going to wait for the snake to bite you again. You want to have a conversation in the moment. And then they got a choice. Like, listen, here's what I see, what's going on. I just want to have a conversation about this to see what we can do differently moving forward. It happens again, then you have another conversation. Say so much time.
And then, there's some things that you don't even need to have a conversation for.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just like, nope. I do not feel physically safe in this. Nope. You don't need to explain yourself. Get out. You don't need to explain, apologize, do anything to make sure that you are safe. And I think that's the dark side of this idea that there's the one, or there's like a people that are meant to be with, or spiritual community, or this, whatever it is, because you bring this myth of like, I'm supposed to be here, therefore whatever I suffer is supposed to happen. And that's not necessarily true, and can be very damaging to the self. And that's how cults happen. So
We're gonna do that. Like, we're already at like an hour and a half.
I know.
Another like. So let's go there.
Like, be open, but protect yourselves. No.
Yeah. You're supposed to take that for your highest evolution out there. I mean, things do happen, but then things happen for you to make a choice. If something happens, you have the choice of, okay, this thing happened. I'm going to choose to continue to let it happen, or I got a choice to make.
Choose you. That's what I would always say. Choose you. If it's the situation or you, choose you.
Yeah. Oh, Novella's come with the comments. Thank you. She says, in my opinion, our twin has a purpose far greater than being together. They are a catalyst to wake us or whatnot. And sometimes that's it. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the universe just gives us ample opportunities, not from just like a romantic partner, but as people in our lives as opportunities to poke at that sleeping giant to wake us up. And little by little, they wake us up, because we always come to that point in whatever relationship or interaction we have that's it. So like, you're awakened right there and you're making a choice. But now, oh my God, like, I should have made this decision a long time ago and I waited it out. Now I got resentment and bitterness type of thing.
Yeah. Anger, man, is a catalyst.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, no, that's a big no for me and my boundaries. It's important. So, gotta listen to that. But, being in anger all the time is like not good either. But, it's sort of like, But man, when it comes to your rescue, when you've been in a toxic situation, it's like rocket fuel, just getting you right out of bed. Anger is a secondary emotion. I'm looking at the comments there.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's the thing that likes to sit on top of fear. And then when we really get down to what is being avoided by erupting, that's when we start to actually understand like what our emotions are trying to tell us. There's a message in it. There's a message. An emotion is just a messenger. But what is it actually saying? And that can take a little bit of patience. A little bit.
Yeah, by the time I'm ready to erupt, though, I'm not very observant. I'm just like, boom! Yeah.
As soon as you did that, remind me of, what was that, Inside Out with Anger, the little anger guy, the little red guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, that, you know, from I coined the saying, you know, I don't burn bridges, I napalm them, because, you know, that's what happens when I get to that state. It's just, you know.
Oh my god!
I can literally see a guy in my head like pushing the buttons to launch all the missiles, right?
Target spotted.
Yeah. But yeah, fear has the targeting system too. It's just sort of like threat assessment. You know.
Right. A lot of times
surveillance.
There's something wrong with that.
Yeah. It's valuable, and also it's something that our ancestors had to have for like potential saber-tooth tiger or something trying to eat them. But like in the present moment, we still have that same type of energy, and we could like react as if the saber-tooth tigers happened, or assess the situation, or maybe the saber-tooth tiger is in the form of somebody who's about to harm you, and that's a great time to react as well.
Yeah. I think we're back to dance.
Yeah.
Dancing with the emotions.
We're all back to this.
Yeah.
That
Spiritual rave party.
In the Church of the Mooneagle, the symbol is like these two wavy lines. No.
Yeah, this is great. Whew. And so, I feel like we're at that time where we, one, get to let people know where they can find you. And even Novella says, it's been a pleasure sharing space with you all. I'm off to an interview. Good luck on your interview.
Good luck, Novella. Sending the positive vibes your way. Go crush it. Show your magic, girl. What? God. It felt magical today.
Yes, where people can find you.
I've got a website. It's thomasmooneagle.com, and I also have 2 YouTube channels, which I've got linked there. One's I'm doing healing videos on, the other one's I'm doing Tai Chi and Qigong. And then I also have a Patreon support channel, so if people want to join in my community, they can come support me there and get some extra perks. So all over the place. Just type in Thomas Mooneagle, I won't be far.
There we go.
I should know you're in the right path.
Yeah.
Your business name is the only name that's out there with that. That's just know you're unique.
So far, no one's copied me yet. Yeah.
TM's about to stand for trademark, man.
Here's the thing. Like, you don't want to be the person who like sets up shop with my name and does people wrong, because I will find you.
And when I read the movie Taken, I got a set of skills.
My favorite one of that is when he did like Kermit the Frog doing that. like doing that whole little speech.
What? What?
The guy who does Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, and he did like that whole speech, but in Kermit the Frog's voice.
Ooh. Oh my God. Wow. That's
The Muppets make everything better.
I'm Kermit the Frog. I got a set of skills.
And a big thank you to you for joining us for the second time. We do hope to have you on for a third. We covered a lot of ground here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the first one.
We really did. And also a big thank you to everyone who's watching. Allison, Tamara, Novella, and everyone who is there who maybe just didn't get a chance to drop in and say hello. But we appreciate you, and it makes a big difference in the conversation. So with that,
Stay magical, my friends.
take care, everyone.
Bye.